Hi, my name is Kristen Schindler. I'm a full-time nurse practitioner student in the MSN program at Old Dominion University. I am here today to kind of give you some information on how, in Virginia, how that looks as far as getting certified, graduation, requirements. So here we go. The significance of going into a graduate program that is accredited is because there are specific requirements that are going to be needed in order to graduate as a nurse practitioner in pathophysiology, pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, advanced courses like these, especially with the new transition. I think most universities will start to experience in 2025 will be coming into effect. So Old Dominion's actually kind of ahead of it with regards to that. So in addition to these courses in advanced pathophysiology and pharmacology, after you are done with your vigorous program in grad school, you then get to make sure you pass your certification and your tests. And the requirements for you, Virginia, are that you pass a certification. While doing though, and upon completion of that, you'll also be required to show that you've gotten completed the specific courses that are necessary, like we said earlier, patho, pharm, those kind of things. So after you complete your boards, which is nerve-wracking as that is, you'll also have to come into a practicing agreement with a physician. And again, this is Virginia specific, so you will want to make an agreement with a physician, meaning someone that you can collaborate with in office. One physician per 6 NPs, I believe, is the law here in Virginia, like no more than 6 to 10 nurse practitioners to MD. Excuse me. And then after that, you will have to prove that you have this written collaboration, this written agreement with this physician in order to then continue on moving through the steps to become a nurse practitioner, even after you're certified, you're board certified. So then the next step in the process, here's the big one, and that's prescriptive authority. So in Virginia specifically, you have to work under a collaborative agreement for X amount of years. It used to be 5, and then it was 3, and then it was, so it's moved back and forth. A lot of that was because of the pandemic, and now it's back to 3 years as of 2023, I believe. They switched it from 5 to 3 years. So you have to have this agreement where you can prescribe underneath this physician, you know, under all these guidelines and specifications, which we'll go over in a minute. That's called prescriptive authority. And in the nurse practitioner's role, prescriptive authority isn't just for family practice. You can do it in AGAC, you could do it in mental health, you can do it just in women's health, pediatrics, and just any specialty that you decide to go into. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to go into just the renewal process. So after you've done this for 3 years and you're a practicing nurse practitioner, what does it look like to continue on? You'll continue your education each year, 40 hours annually, and then you also have to keep up with your pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, in order to maintain your prescriptive authority. And then you'll also have to renew your license annually. And I think it is now, you can do 2 hours of prescribing controlled substances in addition. I think that's going to be required. So on the Virginia Board of Medicine and Virginia Board of Nursing, as well as the American College or Association of Colleges of Nursing, there's a really cool box, and it shows you all the nursing, you know, mid-level practicing nurses, advanced practicing nurses, from nurse practitioner to CRNA to CNM, and then to nurse midwife as well. So the box includes nurse practitioner, CRNA, CNM, and CNS. And who they're licensed by. Across the board, every mid-level person, advanced practicing nurse, is going to be licensed by both the Board of Nursing and the Board of Medicine. under supervision, we'll just focus on the NP for now, but it has to be the collaborative and consult with at least one licensed patient care team physician. So it's obviously going to be different for a CRNA who's going to be working with anesthesia. It's going to be different for the midwife who's going to be working, I think they require like 1,000 hours. And then also the nurse educator, they're going to be with a physician as well. So practice agreement, yes for NP, no for CRNA. They don't need a practice agreement, so they can kind of go on their own. They have a little bit more autonomy. And based on where I work currently, I have gotten to meet and collaborate with some who do like travel CRNA, and they're pretty happy with the outcomes of that. There's also for the midwife, I think you have to have at least 1,000 hours, and then the CNS is only if you're granted prescriptive authority. You don't need if you have prescriptive authority, then you have to have a practicing agreement. But if you don't want prescriptive authority, you don't even need a practicing agreement. So it's pretty cool. And then practicing agreement, obviously, nurse practitioners has a long list of things that they have to keep up with in order to maintain that. CRNAs don't. They don't have to have practicing agreement. And the criteria for those are pretty extensive for the nurse practitioner as well as the midwife and the CNS. Practicing without a practice agreement, CRNAs are the only ones who can. As well as the CNS, they can as long as they are not prescribing. Again, because the NP and the midwife prescribe, we have to have a practice agreement. If we don't, we can apply an appeal for one. However, it's after 5 years. As of 2023, it's after 3 years. So yes, you can. You have to apply for it after your 3-year mark. Each year, I think you have to have 1,000 hours in that collaborative environment. Okay, so quick recap. Nurse practitioners only. In Virginia, you have to have your RN license, a graduate degree, in a national certification. So Board of Medicine, Board of Nursing, and we are restricted practice. So there are 27 states currently that are not restrictive, meaning like Colorado, you can within 2 weeks after you pass your boards, go ahead and practice autonomously. There are other places that have some less restrictions, and Virginia is not one of them. Virginia is still categorized as a complete restricted state. Okay, so for the nurse practitioner specifically in Virginia, what is a practice agreement? What does it look like? What's inside of it? So it's really just kind of like a scope of our practice within a practice that we'll be practicing with a physician. So it's just kind of going to define our roles and our scope. Basically, what our prescriptive authority looks like, with that prescriber's signature on it, what kind of medication specifically to the scope of practice. Like if we're in family medicine, it's kind of going to be pretty broad. If we're in cardiology, it's going to be a little smaller. So, and then it goes through what kind of exceptions there are to this rule. For nurse practitioners, specifically in Virginia, something kind of funny that I found interesting was that in Virginia, it states in the code that for one physician shall not serve as a patient care team physician for more than 6 nurse practitioners with prescriptive authority at one time. And although I think that is also for safety purposes, and I understand that, I just think it's funny it's 6. So I wonder where they came up with that number.